Good morning. I'm Rachel Petrucelli, President of Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh Foundation, and excited to welcome you to Raising the Bar, a virtual education series we're pleased to host. And today we're focused on UPMC Children's Heart Institute. Before we get started, I wanted to mention a few reminders. First, we have automatically muted your mic, but you are welcome to use the chat function at the bottom of the screen during the Q&A session. We'd really like to hear your questions, and we'll have plenty of time to answer them. I also want you to know that we're recording this session, so if you have to jump off early, or if you'd like to share the information with others, you'll have an opportunity to do so. We will email a link to you shortly, and it will also be available on our website. And finally, as you can see, we are seated here together, but taking every precaution to reduce the spread of COVID-19. Our masks are very close by, and we are physically distant for the duration of this program to keep ourselves and our staff safe. Thank you again for joining us, and I'm delighted to introduce you to our special guests, a rock star team that co-leads the Heart Institute at Children's. You may not be aware that Children's Hospital has the #2 ranked Heart Institute in the nation, and it is actually the #1 Heart Institute for children east of the Mississippi. We have today joined with us Dr. Jackie Kreutzer. She is our Chief of Pediatric Cardiology. She is also the holder of the Peter and Ada Rawson Endowed Chair in Pediatric Cardiology. Dr. Victor Morell is our Chief of Cardiothoracic Surgery, our Surgeon-in-Chief at Children's, and holds the Eugene Weiner Endowed Chair in Pediatric Cardiothoracic Surgery. And Dr. Justin Ye, who is our Chief of Cardiac Intensive Care, and all three of these individuals are the co-directors of UPMC Children's Heart Institute. Some of you may be joining us who don't know very much about heart disease and congenital heart disease in children. And I thought that we'd start with a few statistics to orient you so you know the real impact of what the work these individuals and their team back at the hospital focus on every day. 1 in 100 babies in the US are born with a congenital heart defect every year. It's a staggering statistic. And there are nearly, or actually more than, 17,000 heart patients that we care for at UPMC Children's, and that number is growing. UPMC Children's is also recognized as a 3-star rating, the highest possible rating that one Heart Institute could receive, and it's a recognition awarded by the Society of Thoracic Surgeons. Only 8 to 10% of the pediatric heart centers in the country can claim that rating. Our patients come to us from all over the world, representing 4 different continents. So while many of you are most familiar with us because you're from the region surrounding Pittsburgh, we are a destination of care for children, adolescents, and adults who were diagnosed with congenital heart disease and cared for here at Children's. Because we aren't able to bring you into the hospital today, trying to reduce the number of external visitors that we have coming through the hallways of our beautiful hospital, we thought we'd bring a little hospital to you. We are going to spend a little time getting to know these individuals before we open up to a Q&A session. And you will find that each of them is actually filmed in an area that they are most familiar with in the hospital. Dr. Kreutzer will be in the cardiac cath lab, Dr. Morell will be in the operating room, and Dr. Ye will be in the cardiac intensive care unit. We hope that after you watch today's film, you will log your questions at the end, at the bottom, using the chat function, and we'll address them during the duration of the program. And here we are with our program. Thank you.
I came to Pittsburgh in 2004. I was working in Florida at that time, and I was recruited to come here and be the chief of cardiac surgery. So I've been here for 16, going on 17 years now. Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh has had a long reputation for outstanding cardiac care. So I felt quite honored when I was given the position to come here as chief of cardiac surgery. I think it gave me an opportunity, what in my eyes was to influence cardiac care at a higher level, regional, national, and international. And certainly it's been an incredible run.
What really impressed me about the Heart Institute and also the Children's Hospital as a whole was kind of a driving passion to be the best in pediatric care. I knew that I wanted to join an organization with that kind of ambition. I recognized that within myself, and I wanted to work with like-minded folks that really wanted to bring the best possible care to children, particularly in my focused area, which is in pediatric heart care.
The factors that attracted me to come to Pittsburgh is more than anything the team, the people here in Pittsburgh and in Children's Hospital. Especially, we had all the components it takes for a Heart Institute to succeed, especially cardiac surgery, the highest level with Dr. Morel and then his team. Then the cardiac anesthesia team, cardiac intensive care, and then that idea of trying to build cardiology in addition to that was really what attracted me here. The culture of collaboration here in Children's Hospital Pittsburgh is very strong and truly is what keeps us going.
I was never a great athlete, but I always liked team sports. And this is my team here. Every day when I get up getting ready to go to work, I know that I'm going to be working with my team. And that includes more than just the physician staff. We have, our team of physicians that includes surgeons and other subspecialists, but we have physicians in training. We have an amazing nursing staff that teach me new things every day. We have our respiratory therapists. We have our social workers, child life specialists, and all of them are really critical to taking care of our patients, and that team element is what really I find exciting.
Over the years, we developed a national and international referral base. People know who we are. People know what we do. They've come to realize that for some of the most complex cases, Pittsburgh is the place to send those patients. Everybody can do the simple stuff. Everybody can do the simple cardiac defect interventions, but the most complex procedures, interventions, requires a special team to consistently provide outstanding outcomes. They're sending patients to us from Poland, from Florida, from Michigan, from different places, from Boston, for us to take care of them.
We really have a robust telemedicine capability here. We have a unique partnership with two programs in Florida, one in the Tampa Bay area and another program in Jacksonville. We have the capability in real time to talk to providers in either of our Florida sites or in an international site. For our Florida programs, we also have the capability to look at the telemetry for those patients, which means that we can actually see what's happening on the monitor at that bedside, and it really speeds up the process. I think the capability to speak face-to-face to someone, as well as to really in real time see all the information from the monitor, actually allows us to get a better and fuller sense of what's happening with the patient, and I think it helps us to deliver better care.
We really strive to provide the best care for the most kids, and we do that in a fashion that really empowers the child to achieve the best outcomes, to be a functional member of society when they leave the hospital. We know now how we can have a survivor of a major congenital heart problem. The next challenge is how we can make that child really have a normal life. So that's where I think neurodevelopmental outcomes, a program that supports older neurodevelopment that gives them their ability to interact well with others, not have physical limitations, not have psychological problems, be able to deal with learning disabilities, speech problems, and the rest. All those supportive mechanisms that we need so that that family feels supported. And that's, I think, the next challenge for pediatric cardiology, how to improve their neurodevelopment and make sure they do the best. We see a lot of that empowering of our patients in heart camp. That's 1 week of the year where our kids with congenital heart disease are together acting like normal kids, climbing up rock walls and swimming and fishing and doing archery and doing all sorts of normal things with other kids that have heart problems just like them. It's an amazing experience. And that is an example of how our community in pediatric cardiology has really helps these kids really have 1 week of the year where they feel they're just like anybody else.
I don't think I've ever had a day where I haven't, been, mentally or emotionally challenged coming into my day in the cardiac ICU, and I look forward to that challenge.
I treat in a year probably 30, 40, 50 different disease processes that affect the heart. They might have some similarities, but they also are quite different. We operate from premature babies who weigh 600 grams to adults with congenital heart disease in their 60s. So we have a whole spectrum of patients that come through our doors. And they're here because of our expertise, because of our team, because of what we do.
Yeah, I could think of a few patients that have really stuck with me. In particular, I can think of one patient here. Really, it was just an amazing story. I mean, it was a young girl who's a very good athlete. In fact, had just been playing basketball a day or a few days before coming in and was just not quite feeling well. Had a workup for maybe an infection, and when they did that, they saw that her heart was dramatically enlarged. And what we realized was actually that the squeeze of her heart, the pump function of her heart was dramatically diminished. And that's amazing to think that she had just been playing a basketball game several days before. And the scary part is that unrecognized, that could have led to an episode of sudden death for her. Despite the fact that she had been so active just a few days before, she became dramatically more ill over the course of 10 to 14 hours, required support with a special machine that's like the heart-lung machine in the operating room. We call that ECMO support, which is extracorporeal membrane oxygenation. And ultimately, she needed to have an artificial heart pump put in. It wasn't clear whether she was going to need to then progress to heart transplant. And I remember having conversations with our cardiology team and our surgeons about whether that would be necessary or whether we could give her time to see whether her heart function would actually improve, and miraculously it did. And she was able to have that artificial heart pump removed. And just last week, one of her cardiologists sent me a picture of her in a cross-country race doing well, and she was able to finish, and I think that that's an amazing accomplishment. And just seeing her spirit and seeing her be able to recover from such an episode of just absolute significant critical illness is just amazing. And those are the kind of stories that make me excited to keep doing my job and taking good care of patients.
Probably have to say that the most impactful case I've ever participated on, it's my own son. So Samuel was born with a heart defect. He's now 16, he's doing great. But at age 3, he had open heart surgery. And clearly made me realize the other side of what I do. Having been in the parent side of it has given me a little bit of insight into what parents go through, the stress and the unknowns that go with what we do here in the Heart Center. And it's more than just providing surgery or providing a cardiac catheterization or providing a diagnostic study. You're dealing with a family and that is under stress, that needs to be supported the same way the baby or the child or the adolescent needs to be supported. And I think that's what separates us here. We look past the disease and we look at the whole family and try to treat them all.
It is very important for us to be leaders in the field, to expand our research capabilities. We have the basis it takes, and we're ready to jump ahead to a new era for the Heart Institute, where research and innovation really are a big percentage of our time, because we want to impact the field. And that expands from basic science research as well as clinical research. I believe the Heart Institute has a bright future ahead of us. We are standing right now as number 2 in the country, very much based on incredible outcomes that we have achieved because of that thrive towards excellence. Now, the step ahead for us is to really lead in innovation, discovery, and to also train the leaders of the future, and really guide the field on how to provide the best care, not only here in Pittsburgh, but everywhere else in the nation and in the world.
We feel very proud of what we have achieved. And I think for Pittsburgh and the city and the people of Pittsburgh to have such an amazing hospital and such an amazing cardiac program, we need their support to advance this. We want to be number 1 in clinical, in academics, in training, and we need their help. We need their support.
Welcome back. So now you know how special the UPMC Heart Institute for Children's is. And these phenomenal representatives that lead that Heart Institute every day bring not only their brilliance, but their compassion to make sure that the best care is available to the most kids. We will proceed to our Q&A session. So just a reminder, please use the chat function at the bottom of your screen. Send us your questions. They'll be popping up in just a minute, and we will be getting to them. But I thought maybe we could kick it off by building on the last statement there about the vision for UPMC Children's Heart Institute, and ask that you talk a little bit more about the responsibility you feel as leaders in the field for informing and influencing care, not just locally, but globally, and how discovery, both at the bench and at the bedside, contributes to that work. Dr. Morell, maybe I could start with you.
Sure. Thank you, Rachel. What we do at Children's, and I think what keeps us together, it's the passion to touch people. It's the passion to fix issues, health issues on babies, on adolescents, on adults, that, when you look through the history of congenital heart disease, you realize that, some of the operations we do, some of the kids who run around on those videos, if they were born before 1980, they wouldn't be alive. A lot of those kids. I mean, it's incredible. 1980, I'm not talking about, the 40s, 1980s. I mean, I was in college, my Lord, and there were hundreds, thousands of kids who were still dying from diseases that we treat now, that at Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh, the mortality for that operation, it's only 3%. So now that 100% of patients who were dying, now only 3% don't survive. So I feel that, from a clinical perspective, we've achieved incredible outcome. I mean, I think there's not another program in the country that is better than us clinically. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, and it's taken not just the three of us. I mean, there are hundreds and thousands of people that have contributed, including people who are participating, at home now or at their office, who've been supporters of the Heart Center throughout many years. There's a lot more we can do. I mean, that's really what this is all about. It's not about us. I mean, it's about the next generation. It's about who are we gonna bring from the outside to help us expand and eventually replace us. And we can't just sit and say, well, we're great, because we're great today, tomorrow might be a different story. And we are passionate about this. We want to do more. And there's a lot more we can do. The same way we have all these patients coming from other countries, we can have more. And we can change the care in which maybe they won't fly to come over, because whatever discovery we've made, it can be done at home, which is, you can argue, is even better for them. Right. It's less stressful for the whole family, for the kid. Mm-hmm. So, this is a process, and we've achieved tremendous amount of success, but still not good enough. We got to do better.
Well, you all stand on the shoulders of giants before you, Dr. Zuberbuehler, Dr. Netches, so many that I'm sure you could rattle off. But
Dr. Park.
Dr. Park. So many, and yet now you are the giants. People will stand on your shoulders. That's a heavy responsibility. It's a weighty concern when you think about who will be those that follow us, and why training, why the fellowship program, why the subspecialty work that you do across your field is so important. And Dr. Ye, in the cardiac intensive care unit, your responsibility and your team looking after the patients that they're most vulnerable, they're sickest. You need to help them get strong enough for surgery, and you need to take care of them after surgery. What are some of the advances that are on the cusp of changing the outcomes in cardiac intensive care that will make a huge difference in children for the future?
Well, good morning, Rachel. Thanks for inviting me to this session. Yeah, it's an amazing time, really. I mean, it gets back to what Dr. Morel just said. I mean, if you think about all the different areas of healthcare, we're actually in a relatively young field. There's a lot happening. We're learning a lot. And it is a very kind of intense, high acuity environment that we work in the cardiac intensive care unit. It's a special covenant we have with the families and the patients, and we take that very seriously. And I do think that there are many things that we're thinking about that can potentially improve the care of the patient, but it has to be studied. I mean, it's one thing to say, let's try this and do it. It's another to say, we're going to really think about studying something very rigorously and make sure that it's the right thing to do for a patient. And I think there's several areas of intervention that we can move forward into. One is along the lines of what Dr. Kreutzer had talked about just in the video in terms of thinking about neurodevelopment. There's many things that go into it. Right now, a lot of the focus is on following those patients in the clinic and helping them with their educational skills and motor skills afterward. But could it be that there's things that we could do in the intensive care unit or even in the operating room that would improve the care of those patients? And by that I mean, could there be a certain selection of the type of sedative, meaning like sleeping or pain type agents that we use? Could it be the way in which we manipulate the environment around them? For example, one of the big problems that a lot of our patients have is something called delirium, where they become very confused after being exposed to sedative agents. And is there a way that we can prevent it or mitigate it? I think that those are very important things to consider. And then I think there's a lot that's coming down the pike in terms of technology. I think one of the biggest things that people are thinking about is how do we use all the great computing power that's available to us now, the potential for using artificial intelligence, to really, not really replace the doctor, but to help us make better decisions and make those decisions quicker. And those are the kind of things that I think could really push our field forward.
Wonderful, thank you. And it's reassuring that all of you and everyone in your field spends time thinking about those questions, pushing the boundaries, trying to create change, and making sure that the very best care is available to the most kids. Dr. Kreutzer, maybe you could speak to the really exciting fact that so many more adults are living with congenital heart disease than there are babies being born. And how are we taking care of pretty much people at every age in our heart program?
Very true. Thanks, Rachel. That's absolutely true. We take care of the fetus. Mothers come for consultation, and we diagnose them early, and we prepare them for what's to come. And then, indeed, sometimes we may intervene in the fetus to alter the course. And then, of course, the newborns, throughout childhood. And then, currently there are more adults with congenital heart disease than children with congenital heart disease in the country. So these, adolescents and young adults are transitioning to the real world, and that's an area where we're playing a key role to assure that their outcomes and their life is fulfilled as adults with congenital heart disease. And although there is so much progress that has been made in our field in the last 2 decades, there are a lot of challenges still. Many of the patients we take care of, we fix their plumbing, we fix their heart, but that fix is not necessarily permanent. Often they have to have reoperations, more procedures. So innovation and discovery will play a key role to be able to find solutions that will be much long-lasting. For instance, if in part of your repair, you need a conduit, some artificial valve that has to be implanted, pretty much that means that at some point in your life, you're going to have that replaced. And also that's not going to grow with you as you grow. So having a tissue engineered valve, something that will be your own tissue, that can grow, implanted during that original surgery, clearly could have major potential to improve the quality of life and minimize the risk long term, because you don't have to have ongoing surgeries. And that happens for a lot of our kids. And in pretty much in every area of cardiology, we can mention similar challenges that we're facing that can really have an opportunity to improve how those patients will do long term, how those families will be handling that disease. So there's a lot for us ahead.
A lot you've already discovered, a lot that you already know and have been able to change, but a lot yet left to learn and new tools to develop. So I see that we have some questions that are coming in from our audience, and I'm going to turn our attention to those questions and ask, and maybe Dr. Ye, you could start with the answer. What is the biggest challenge you face every day?
Biggest challenge? I think it's several-fold. I think one is kind of every day we come into work, there's always something new that's happening, and each patient that we take care of is unique. I mean, I think that there's certain patterns that we see in our field that are recurrent, but every patient has kind of their own unique variation on that. So you can kind of think of that as, I'm not an expert in classical music, but there's themes, right, that come out and people play the same piece, but they don't play it the same. Mm-hmm. And that's the way it is with our patients. And so it would be easy to say that, there's a specific lesion and you come in and everything's going to happen in a certain fashion. And I think we have certain expectations for our patients and we know what to look for. But there are unique things that happen in each individual patient that can always kind of keep you on edge. And then I think in the intensive care unit, and that's true in my partner's other areas of practice, but we have a pretty big team. And so one of the other challenges is kind of guiding and leading that team. That's one of our roles in the unit, particularly for my faculty group. We're the leader of the team in the unit. And so we have multiple different members of the team, where we have our own little United Nations in there, and we have to guide that team through the day and finding how to get that team functioning at the highest possible level.
Great. Dr. Morrell, want to try?
Sure. You know, it's somewhat of a complex question because, you know, the first thing that came to mind, to me, honestly, was just the biggest challenge every day is how do we get through the day? You know, we have very complex, we were talking, you know, just to give an example, yesterday, the first patient that we had to intervene on happened to be one of our nurses who was born with a heart defect when she had open heart surgery when she was little. As an infant, a very complex operation done many, many years ago. She's in her 30s. And she needed a reoperation for the same reason that Dr. Kreutzer mentioned, because the tube that was put inside of her doesn't grow. And it's gotten to the point that it needs to be changed. And, you know, this is somebody I work with every day who now is on the table. And, you know, you have to be in your game every day. There's no two ways, you know. It's not like golf in which you can, you know, have a few swings and still make it back and smile. Here, you can never have a bad swing. You have to be on every day. At the same time, you're just another human being, you know. I have my kids at home. I got my wife. I got my friends. I got my family, you know. So how do you handle this every day? You know, and we're passionate about every aspect of our life. You know, how do you partition your life? How do you partition your time, and give everybody the time necessary to you know, address the issues. And that goes what I think what Justin said is very important. You know, we're a team, and yes, we're the faces, but by no means we're the important. The important is the group. Important is the troops that do. You know, we're here on TV. That's great. The people who are working right now, they are the important ones, and we have to take care of them, and we have to support them. And you know, we're talking about innovation. No, Bernard it's on the call, and Bernard, you know, what he's doing is tremendous. I mean, I would hope that someday there'll be no need for heart surgeons. That, you know, we will figure this out and be able to do something as a fetus. We diagnose them and then we treat them. During fetal life, and then they are born, they have a normal heart. Obviously, this is, you know, pie in the sky, but it might be possible someday. And we need people like Bernard. We need to support Bernard and people like him, and we have to attract more people like him to change what we do, you know? We change what we do, which is okay.
And for our audience listening, you're mentioning Dr. Bernard Kuhn, who is studying how to grow heart cells and to regenerate heart muscle, to let the heart heal itself.
Correct.
To put you out of business,
correct,
so to speak. Correct?
It's okay. It's okay.
Thank you for sharing that wonderful story about your nurse, and well, we hope that she does well in her recovery. Dr. Kreutzer, how about you? What's the challenge for you?
You know, for us, truly challenges. We face challenges all the time, but it's they fill us with joy because we love taking care of challenges. That's our life as a cardiologist, as a surgeon, as an intensivist. We face those challenges, which involve taking care of patients and sometimes in very difficult situations. But you know, what keeps us going is just, you know, now with COVID it's hard because I can't hug people as much as I used to. But one of the things that give me the most gratification is when after a procedure, when I talk to the families and they say, "Can I hug you?" And that's that connection that we have. So you know, that our patients is what inspired us to move us forward, and we deal with those challenges all the time. And then there are other challenges that we have that relate to, you know, we always dream high and we want, you know, more resources. We want to be able to attract the best leaders in the world to come to Pittsburgh to join our team so we can build our Heart Institute further, stronger and stronger, and change the field. And for that, we need resources. We need resources for research to support our programs. There are many programs we want to build. We have a lot of great services, but we know we can do a lot more. So getting all those resources, that's always a challenge for us.
Absolutely. And we're going to devote some time at the end, I think, to get a little deeper into that. But I appreciate your answers and really the vulnerability that you're sharing in juggling the responsibilities in caring for patients and families, the humanistic side of that. You aren't superhuman. You have super talent, but you're not superhuman. And to go home at night knowing that it was a good day, or maybe it was a challenging day, or maybe it was a difficult day, and you were surrounded by people who care and support you too. So it's helpful for all of us to keep that in mind. We have another question. So, and you touched on this, Dr. Kreutzer, the culture at Children's Hospital. Can you more specifically talk about the culture of collaboration? Why does it exist here? Why do you not necessarily see that unique culture in other really excellent places, excellent academic centers, excellent hospitals, top-ranked hospitals? What sets us apart, and what does that mean for the whole experience? Dr. Morell?
Yeah, sure. So I would simply say Pittsburgh. This is, a blue-collar town, low egos, collaborative, feisty, love winning Super Bowls, loves winning Stanley Cups, and loves being top in anything, in the same way we love being top in our cardiovascular program. We don't have to be the biggest city,
Right.
but that's nothing stopping us from having the best teams and the best as part of the winning team. So it's simple. I mean, honestly, it's very simple. We early on said there's no lines on the sand. We're collaborative to the nth degree. Just because Jackie or one of her partners comes up with a new procedure that is gonna maybe take some of my patients that maybe they won't be coming for surgery, now they're gonna go to the cath lab and have an intervention. It's good for the patient, it's good for me. There's patient, it's number one, and outcomes are number one. And that's it. And there's nothing that comes in between. And I have to say, we've recruited people who drink the juice. And if you don't drink the juice, you can't be part of our team. Period. It's simple. We don't tolerate egomaniacs. It's just not what this is all about. We're here to take care of kids and adults and babies, and this is it. I mean, so I would just say, I wish there was some magic to this. There's no magic. It's just common sense and humanity.
That's great.
Yeah.
Dr. Kreutzer?
Yeah, that's that team culture, that honesty, that trust. We trust each other. Very, very high work ethic. We know everybody works, really hard for that common goal of getting the best, providing the best care, everybody thrives for excellence. And we really love each other. We're like a family, and that's how it works. We respect each other, and we trust each other, and that means our nurses, our techs, the whole team works together, and the family is also part of our team. When we discuss decisions and everything, we update and we work together. We share the risks, and that makes us a stronger team.
That's great. Dr. Ye, have anything to add?
Yeah, I would just agree with Victor. That's like, to borrow another cliche, it's the secret sauce. I mean, I'm the relative newcomer to the team, and it's very easy for me to think back to 2 years ago before I joined, and that was really one of the things that was very attractive about coming here to Pittsburgh, was the real spirit of collaboration. It was very clear to me. I mean, there's always things that aren't totally on the top line. You know, when you come out for an interview, it's hard to like dig super deep into it. And it was very easy to see how well people collaborated together, and you can't fake that. And I think that that's what brings us our success in taking care of our patients. I think if you don't have a high functioning team, no matter how talented each individual component is, you may have some successes here and there, but you can't have sustained success that way.
Thank you. I mean, it's clear that there's a lot of joy, shared joy in your work, a lot of mutual respect, and it's not lip service. The term and the use of collaboration is not lip service. You all set the tone. And knowing many of the members of the team, I know that it's felt top to bottom. So thank you for expanding on that. We have another question. Can you tell us about one of your most triumphant moments in your career? So Jackie, is there a like, wow, you know, like such an exciting moment in your career that?
Really, to me, what is amazing is when we can impact a child to change their life significantly. For instance, there are times that we get referred patients who don't even have options for transplantation because of so many things that are wrong, and then, you know, we say, well, there's something we can do so they can have that option. And that's the most triumphant. So I'm thinking of patients that have come to the cath lab and we managed to recanalize vessels or do something so that now there is a future, that they were not, transplant was not even an option. And to me, having achieved that, the fact that through interventional cath, we have tools that open doors for the future to these patients, to me, that's amazing. And I just think of several interventions that we have, you know, managed to succeed with new technology that have developed in the last 2 decades, and they really impact so many kids, and that to me is triumphant. Yeah.
Great, that's great. Dr. Ye?
I don't know if I can think of like a particular moment, but for me, I mean, we're all leaders here. I think one of the great joys that I get is when I see that my team in the ICU is, you know, really makes a great save. You know, we have a really critically ill patient. We're all working together, and that includes cardiology and surgery, and you know, people are just working in lockstep, and we're able to get that patient through that point of critical illness, and just to see the team function at that level, that really just brings me a great joy and just real satisfaction in the job to know that, you know, we did it.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Yeah. Dr. Morrell?
You know, I think every day is a trophy, and you know, we every time we cure a kid, every time we have a successful outcome, it's amazing. Mm-hmm. But you know, from a personal standpoint, I would also say, you know, when we've been doing amazing work, and amazing work's been done at Children's Hospital well before any of us ever arrived. But when, you know, for us to achieve number 2 status or whatever, I mean, I think we're number 1, but you know, we'll take number 2 for now. It was a moment that, I mean, when we were talking about it, we were like, did we really do that? Because you got to understand, we're not here for the beauty pageant. That had nothing to do with it. We were always under the impression that, you know, it doesn't matter what we do because our outcomes have been outstanding forever. I mean, forever, for a decade. So, and we weren't recognized for that. So when this happened, that, you know, we became number 2, and, you know, we surpassed some of the big name places that we train on. You know, people we know who are probably going like, oh, how did that happen? You know, and they're really mad that we've done this, you know. And I think, not for me personally, but I think for the group, it was like a moment of, wow, you know, like I guess we're really doing good work, and I guess it's getting recognized. Not that necessarily matter, but it does allow us, for example, I think we've been busier from referrals, from consultations. People come to us and say, hey, great job. I mean, that's amazing. And people want to come and work with us because they realize they knew it before, but now this is a statement that it's out there saying, this program is great, you know? And I think that we're here today for that. You know, we have to make this sustainable, and it has to be for perpetuity. You know, 100 years from now, we want to be number 1, number 2, number 3. We got to be in the top 5 forever. I mean, that's the way I look at it. And, you know, we want to win the Stanley Cup every year. We want to win the Super Bowl every year. We want to be the top program every year, period. I mean, there's no question. I mean, and
now that you have a taste for it, for that recognition. And again, another, an excellent Pittsburgh trait. We're not a culture that, you know, thumps its chest from the highest rooftop and screams how great we are. We expect that people will see the greatness. And then when you get that kind of recognition that the whole world sees, that puts a spotlight right on Pittsburgh, and if you have a child with a heart condition, you want to go to Pittsburgh because your best chance, your child's best chance is right there in Pittsburgh. That's a huge statement. Thank you for sharing and answering that last question. We have another one, and that's, can you speak to the importance that philanthropy has on your work? So I'm going to influence the answer a little bit because you could tackle this from a number of directions. Endowment. Endowment, there's endowed chairs. Endowment is, you know, we hold the principal and we only spend a percentage of that income on an annual basis so that that principal is in perpetuity. We have, fortunately, the robust resources that come with being a world-class facility in a world-class health system in UPMC. So philanthropy isn't needed to keep the lights on. You don't need that to make sure that you're just meeting the basic standards of care. So help our viewers understand, what does philanthropy do that helps to elevate that game and prepare for that future? Dr. Kreutzer, you want to start?
I mean, yeah, philanthropy, it makes the difference between, I don't know, you can think of a sandwich from
Manny Brothers?
McDonald's or versus the special dinner at Monterey Bay or some other place. I mean, it's just it's just that extra allows us to have that excellence because it provides support for a lot of the things that are not really necessarily lined up with a direct income. So, you know, and that goes from education, our research, some of the supportive services for the children like Child Life, that really make that patient experience special. And anytime we talk about research, all the clinical trials that are going on, all the clinical research projects that are going on are supported through philanthropy because through that we support our research coordinators. You know, we have the ability to do some pilot studies, and we want to do a lot more. But without philanthropy, you know, our mission would be extremely limited. It just makes a world of a difference.
Dr. Morell, along those lines, recruiting people to come to Pittsburgh. I mean, Pittsburgh is a special place, but it doesn't sell itself.
Correct.
And we think about a lot of other strong programs, not number 2, not number 1, but strong programs in the country from cities that are more sought after with hospitals that have deep pockets. So what does it mean to you when you're recruiting the best, and how philanthropy helps in that process?
So, I mean, it is somewhat of a struggle for us. I mean, we're going right now, Jackie and I were sitting yesterday evening discussing a package we're putting together for somebody that we really want, somebody who's outstanding. But, you know, salary line we can get, and it's okay. So, but this person has some research interest. This person does not have necessarily a track record of NIH grants, but we do believe has significant potential to develop that portfolio. And we need to be able to support her for a few years with some grant money, which we don't have. And she can go to Cincinnati, or she can go to Columbus, and they'll give her whatever she wants. She really wants to come here, but we'll see what happens. But we just don't have that extra frosting, which I think we deserve. I think if we're gonna be what we want to be, we need that extra support. We need to be able to attract these people. They don't need to go to Cincinnati or Columbus or Boston or CHOP because they have more extra stuff to give them. We should be able to do that. You know, I think the kids deserve that. And you know, it is, all our philanthropy goes into research or supporting the other services that make no money, okay? And we need it, and we need more of it, you know? And if we're gonna do more, we need more. So I view it as, this is we're at a point that we're gonna make a decision that is gonna influence us forever. We either stay competitive and at the top of the game, or we're going to just go back to the middle of the pack. And we certainly don't want to go by middle of the pack. I think we need to be in the forefront of cardiovascular care for children.
Well, we share that commitment with you, and we don't want you to go back to the middle of the pack. And it takes resources. It takes a combination of resources. And the Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh Foundation has been blessed by wonderful, generous individuals, corporations, and organizations through the years. And a lot of that support has been directed to the Heart Institute to get you somewhat of the way to where you are today. But we have a lot more to do and a lot further to go. And we know that philanthropy is a path to helping us get there. So I know that we're rounding out our hour program here, and there's so much that we already have at UPMC Children's, and so many tools to work with, and there are still some important and critical needs. It helps with our people, making sure we continue to have the best team in place. It helps with our equipment and space and the services that we're able to offer, so that the very complex, the most complex cases have a successful outcome here in Pittsburgh where they might not in other places. And we need to invest in the future answers, the future treatments, the opportunity to cure that heart without requiring transplant and put you out of business. Those things are on the cusp. Look at the transformation that's occurred over the last 20 years that you pointed to already. Another 20, where will we be? And at the end of the day, what's most important is the life of a child, the family, and the care that they receive, the compassion that they receive, the support that they receive through that journey, because you do create such a family. We're so grateful to have many, many generous supporters contributing to UPMC Children's Hospital, both locally, but from around the world. And we invite you to continue to learn more about our Heart Institute and its ambition, its priorities for the future. And I can suggest that if you are interested in learning more, my colleague Carol Ashby, her contact information is on your screen. I ask you to reach out to her directly and see how you can get involved and help Dr. Kreutzer, Dr. Ye, and Dr. Morel, and the whole team back at UPMC Children's be successful. And I want to also remind you that we are in the middle of our series of Raise the Bar with a couple of other programs coming up later this month. On the 15th we will feature the Whole Child Wellness Clinic. And we hope you'll tune in. So again, thank you so much for your support, for joining us today. Dr. Morel, Dr. Kreutzer, and Dr. Ye, thank you for your time and for the passion and every day coming in and facing the challenges that are before you, because our children matter and they're lucky to have you and your team behind them. Thank you.